Hi theory students, we're back. Today we're going to be talking about using diatonic modes. Unlike medieval or Renaissance usage, where usually the modes are related to specific pitches, such as D for Dorian or G for Dorian, but not very many other kinds of tonal centers, today we'll be talking about these modes using any transposition, and I'll show you a couple of easy ways to think of this. Remember that the diatonic modes are the set of scales that feature two half steps, where one pair is a perfect fourth higher than the other pair of half-step notes, and the remaining notes as whole steps. We think of these as the church modes, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and the major and natural minor scales, which respectively were called Ionian and Aeolian scales. We can also think of these as being related by rotation. In other words, Dorian is the major scale rotated to start on D instead of C, like this. So here is the C major scale from there to there. If we take all of those pitches and rotate them so that we start here instead, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, then we're talking about Dorian mode. Start on E, up to E, and now we're talking about Phrygian mode. F, up to F, and we're talking about Lydian mode, etc. There's one other mode that composers in the 20th century may use that was not used at all in medieval and Renaissance music. The so-called Locrian mode would be the mode that started on B, going up to the higher B, and generally this was avoided in medieval and Renaissance because it was a diminished fifth from the first to the fifth note, not a perfect fifth. But for 20th century composers, that's not an obstacle. Here is a chart that shows the name of the modes, and if we're only using natural notes like the white keys on the piano, Ionian mode would have a tonal center of C, and we think of that as our major scale. Dorian mode, with only white notes, tonal center D, and think of that as a minor scale with raised sixth. Phrygian E, like a minor scale with lowered or flatted second. Lydian mode, starting on F, like a major with raised four. Mixolydian, like a major with flat 7, starting on G. Aeolian, starting on A, that's our natural minor scale. And now this other scale, Locrian, starting on B, that's like a minor scale with flat second and flat fifth. So that's how they work with no sharps and no flats. Now let's think of how to transpose these modes. Let's assume that you're given the tonic and you're given the mode. So for example, imagine that we are trying to figure out what the key signature would be for E-flat Dorian. I will show you two different ways to do it. Method number one, find the distance down from that mode to the Ionian mode and use the key signature of the Ionian mode. Let me show you how this works. So for E-flat Dorian, think back to the table we just saw. Dorian here is a step above the Ionian mode. So in order to get from Dorian to Ionian, we go down a whole step. So now from E-flat Dorian, go down a whole step from E flat, and we get D flat, and D flat Ionian would be 5 flats. So that's the key signature for E flat Dorian as well, 5 flats. Let me show you another way to do this. Draw a key signature line like I did here, understanding that that's 7 flats, 7 sharps, and everything in between. So now imagine I'm going to put a made-up word, and that word is Padmel. It stands for Phrygian, Aeolian, Dorian, Mixolydian, Ionian, Lydian. Let's leave out Locrian for the moment. So here's what I want to do. I will look back here. We want to find E flat Dorian. If I could place the I of this word Padmel on the major key signature for E flat, then I can get the other 5 modes. So E flat has 3 flats if it's E flat major, right? So here's where I put the I. I will draw the rest of the word around this. What this means is that if E flat is a tonic, E flat Phrygian is 7 flats, E flat Aeolian, which we know is E flat minor, 6 flats, E flat Dorian is 5 flats. That's the same answer we got doing the first method. E flat Mixolydian is 4 flats. E flat Ionian or major is 3 flats. E flat Lydian is 2 flats. Let's try another example. Okay, imagine if we wanted to find F Phrygian. So if I could find F major, let me put the I there, 1 flat. Let me fill in the rest of the word. And I look for the P for Phrygian. This tells me that F Phrygian has 5 flats. One more example. What if I wanted to find C sharp Mixolydian? C sharp major has 7 sharps. What this means is that Lydian is off the scale there. But I could put the rest of these in. And Mixolydian would have 6 sharps, with C sharp as a tonic. By the way, we could check ourselves by looking over here at the minor scale, Aeolian. C sharp minor has 4 sharps, so that's how I can check to make sure I've placed this Padmel in the right place. I've described the technique here. Place a made-up word, Padmel, onto the line so that I, the Ionian or major mode, is in the right place for that key signature. Or you could place the A for Aeolian mode where the minor mode would be. The other letters would be under the key signatures for each of the respective modes. What about the opposite case, where you have a key signature and a tonal center and have to figure out what mode you're in? Think about the major key with that key signature, then go up the scale of the major key until you reach the tonic for the mode that you're looking for. So use the initials I, D, P, L, M, A to stand for Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. Let's go back to the table and I'll show you how this works. So here's Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. And if it's no sharps or flats, we start on C major. Scale degree 2 in C would be the tonic of D Dorian. Scale degree 3 in C, the tonic of E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian. We could apply this to different key signatures. So if the key signature were 3 flats, think 3 flats now. Ionian is E flat, go up the scale. F Dorian, 3 flats. G Phrygian, 3 flats. F Lydian, 3 flats. I'm sorry. E flat, F, G, A flat Lydian, 3 flats. B flat Mixolydian, 3 flats. C Aeolian, 3 flats. D Locrian, 3 flats as well. The mnemonic, which you'll love, I, D, P, L, M, A. I don't prefer long music assignments. I don't think you'll forget that one. And in usage, composers may use these modes one at a time, or they may use several modes simultaneously. To use 2 modes at a time is called bimodal. In a piano piece, you could think of each hand in a different mode. And in more complicated pieces, when we have more than 2 modes at a time, we can call that polymodal. We'll look at some examples in class. That's all for today.